So the first thing we thought would be useful to show you is if you're looking at projects that you've got to run internally and you're perhaps having to organise different resources to get the office ready or consider how you can manage your health and safety issues, then Planner, which is a tool that comes with Office 365 or Microsoft 365 as I should call it now, is a great little tool that will allow you to just keep track of the tasks that you need to do and also who they've been assigned to and how long they're likely to take. So what's the due date on those tasks? And Planner it doesn't require a lot of knowledge. It doesn't require any other specialist software. It is just a very, very straightforward tool that has a lot of value associated with it. So we thought we would show you that this afternoon. And I'm going to hand over now to Si, who's going to just give you a little demonstration of Planner and its capabilities.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Tracy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Planner from within Teams. You can use Planner independently. I've created a channel here called for Planner example and simply going to create a new tab, and I'm going to select Planner as the tool within Teams. I'm just going to do a very simple plan around moving to a new building, and I'll talk to you how you can use Planner for doing that, and I'll also show you a couple of other things that Planner can give you when you're setting this up, which is quite useful. So the way Planner works, it works in columns called buckets. It defaults when you first create a plan. The left bucket is called to do, and that gives a little bit of a hint as to the fact that Planner can be more than just doing a straightforward plan. And it is a very simple tool, so it's very intuitive, and all of the screens work in the same way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change to do, and I'm going to call that the building, because let's get the building bit right. So that is now an area of my project. A focus of my project is actually getting the right building. I can then add another bucket, and I'm going to call that staff, because in my new building I'm going to have staffing requirements I need to think about, and I'm also going to have to think about IT. So let's have a bucket for IT. So I'm building a plan here of moving building, and I've got areas talking about the building itself, an area talking about the staffing, and an area talking about the IT considerations. And you can have as many buckets as you like. You can just keep adding the buckets for the different focuses you've got. And then within each of those buckets, we can start to add tasks. So the first thing for my building, I need to think about the requirements. And so I can simply just start typing as I'm thinking through. I've got the requirements. I then need to find a building based on those requirements. I need to agree a deal. I need to establish some facilities. And I need to move in. Now, I'm sure there's lots of other things, but just for this session, let's focus on that. So in the staffing, I want to define my organization. I want to specify my job roles. I want to recruit. And I want to induct my staff. And then for IT, again, let's establish our requirements. Let's order our equipment. And let's install it. Again, ordinarily far more tasks than that, but I'm just giving you a sense of what we can do. So there you go. I've very quickly set up my plan for moving to a new building. And I can now start to embellish this and decide who's going to do what in this plan and when these things need to be done by. So for each task that I've set up here, if I click on move in, for example, I can assign someone to that task and say that that is going to be the responsibility of, let's make that Julie. So Julie is now responsible for the task of us moving into the building once we're complete. And let's say that we need to do that by the end of August. Let's say the 28th of August. So we've now got a time expectation around that task being complete. I can, if I want, set a priority. So I can say it's really urgent, important, medium or low. I'm going to leave those as medium just to give you a sense of how this works. And I can also, within this task, not just say who's got to do it and when they've got to do it by, but I can actually put a checklist by this and say, well, we need to have organised the removers. We need to have packed our boxes, etc. And you can then say that I want to see those checklist items on the main card, and you can put attachments in here, and we can add comments to remind ourselves of what's important for this task. And I can close that, and you can now see that here's the same task of move in and the actions on here against the task. I can have more than one person, so I can add someone else to that. I can say that Tracy's also going to work with Julie on that. So you can have multiple people responsible for a task. What you can also do within Planner is on the right hand side here, you can start to look at these in a different way. So we can filter our tasks and we can decide how we want to see our tasks. So it defaults to bucket view, but I can say, let me look at assigned to view. So now I get Tracy and Julie and the tasks that they're responsible for, and I get all of the tasks here that are unassigned. So I can say, well, actually, agree a deal. I know Tracy needs to be involved in that, so I'm going to give that to Tracy. And you can see that I'm now dragging these tasks, very simply, dragging these tasks across into the buckets that they need to be. So I can, again, I can still come in here and assign this to an individual. So let's give Phil in HR the task of specifying some job roles for us. And you can see that it is adding people into this list as we go. And I can move to the right and see all the people on the plan. So you can see how easy this is to do, to organize your plan, get your tasks and start to assign this to different people or to multiple people in your organization. So that's who it's assigned to. I can then also look at progress. Now, next to this drop down here where you can decide how you want to see things, there is an option to filter. And I can say that let's filter everything that Julie is responsible for in progress. And we can see that she's got one task called moved in, and at the moment it's not started. And as we get to a point of starting that, well, two things we can do. We can say that we've packed the boxes, so that's now gone from our list of things to do within this task. And we can say that we've organized a removal company. And if I go into that task, you can see that they've now both been ticked. So we can see very quickly the status of our plan and our project as we're moving through. And I can also then drag this task and say, this is in progress, because I've already started working on this task and it's moving through the journey on the plan. So I can see that that is now in progress. Let's have a look at some of the other tasks. Let's have a look at some of the unassigned tasks here. Order equipment. Well, I know we've done that. I'm going to just add that to Paul because that's his responsibility. And you can see how quickly I can move and update and change things in my plan. As well as grouping by progress, I can look at things by due date. Now, so far, I've only put one due date, which is when we're going to move in, but I can, of course, go into any of these and start adding further dates. So let's say that I need to define my organisation by the 26th of June, and I can update that. And now it's starting to break my plan into buckets of timelines, etc. So I can start to move things around here as well. You can, everything, as you can see what I'm doing in all of these verticals, you can move things across very easily to change the attributes of those tasks. We've also got within Planner things called labels. So, for example, I might say that I want to know everything in my plan that is relevant to a supplier. And I might also want to know everything in my plan that has got an IT demand within it. And I want to know everything in my plan that needs HR support. So this isn't who's responsible for it in terms of the task on the plan. This is grouping those tasks and categorizing them. So when I look at a task, I can drop that and say that that is actually a task that has supplier involvement. And so these tabs, you can see on the right of the task start to come up, and I've got supplier ticked. Now you can have more than one thing ticked. So I might have a supplier because in terms of the organization, I might want to start working with a recruitment company, but of course I also want HR. So let's tick HR in that. And I might want to let IT know, but actually not a main contributor. So I'm going to leave IT off this. And so you can see that we're starting to build responsibilities. Oh, I didn't tick HR, I thought I had. So you can see we're starting to build responsibilities and sections for our plan. And lastly, I can look at priority. Now, I didn't do anything with priority in my plan, so I'm not going to worry about that. But if you had things grouped by priority, again, you've got a priority view, which just shows everything at the moment is medium. I can put things to important, I can put things to low, etc. So that is the board view of Planner. And you can see I've very quickly thrown together a plan. It's not a particularly good plan because I've done it very quickly, but you get the point. And when I've done that, the chart section of Planner actually shows me for my plan, well, what's the status of all of my tasks? So I've only got one task in progress, so that's not good. And it talks about the buckets that I've got things in, and the priorities that I've assigned to those buckets, who's involved in the plan, and then down the right hand side, more information here around the priorities. So some nice little charts there that are helpful, and then your schedule helps you to put things into particular dates, and you can use this again to drag things into dates on your plan. So just really, really simple to get going with a plan and track it and organize yourself. And because, of course, I'm showing you this within Teams, this is an online tool. So when you've got people working from home, this is a really useful way of engaging with those people and helping you to understand where they're at in the plan and for them to engage with the plan. Now, I spoke earlier about you can use and abuse Planner as well. So I'm going to create another plan and just show you a way of doing this. So if we wanted to look at our sales pipeline, you see the buckets can be named whatever you like. So I can say here that rather than being to do, let's rename that and let's call that initial contact. And let's put a new bucket here and let's call this quote. And let's add a new bucket here and let's call this agreement. So I've now got, I'm using Planner, but I'm using it not to add a task per se, but I might have a contact with Bob the Builder. and I might also have a contact with Fireman Sam. And I've got some quotes running with the Clangers and with Thomas the Tank Engine. And I've got some agreements in place with Peppa Pig. And you can see here, I've got now a very simple activity of managing my sales pipeline. And if the Clangers turn into an agreement, I can move it over to an agreement. And if Bod the Builder comes into a quote, I can move it to a quote. And everybody can see this and understand where things are at. And if you wanted to use the assignment to say who's responsible for the Bod the Builder piece of work, then of course we can give that to Julie to take responsibility for. So this is just a different way of using Planner, and there are many other ways that you can use this tool. It's very simple, very easy to get used to, and to share within your organization.